All right, let's go ahead and get started with number 1 of the Unit 5 review. It says Chris purchased a car valued at $15,600. He received $3,000 for his trade-in, and he paid 8.5% sales tax on the difference between the price of the new car and the amount he received for his trade-in. How much tax did he pay? So there's our question. So we're going to take the $15,600 and we're going to subtract the $3,000 that he got for his trade-in. And when I do that in the calculator, I get a total of $12,600 is what he paid for the car. Now is where the tax comes in. We've got 8.5%, which we need to then move the decimal over. So we're going to multiply this by 0.085. When we do that in the calculator, we end up with $1,071, and that's what they pay in tax. All right, now let's look at number 2. It says Jeff is looking to sell his Camaro. He compiles these prices from the newspaper for the cars just like his. So if we look at this, try not to move it there. Here are all of my values. And the first question says, why is it more reasonable for Jeff to use the median rather than the mean to get the reasonable estimated price for his car? So if you'll remember from the lesson plan that we talked about, the mean is that average, whereas the median is the middle. And I believe that I gave an example of the ages of all of us in the classroom. So if we took the average, we would add everything together, all of our ages together, and then we would divide by how many of us were in the room. But the difference is you all are 16, 17, 18, some 19, maybe even 20, but I was 45. So I had a huge impact on the mean because of my age, whereas the middle, if we were to take each one and line us up in order from youngest to oldest, the middle would not be as impacted. So the answer that I'm looking for here is we're looking first at, do we have an outlier? Well, our prices are $2,800, $17,600, $21,000, $19,900, and $23,000. So you notice that these values here all are relatively close to the 20,000 range. However, this one here, this guy probably got his into a wreck and it's got a salvage title. So it would be known as an outlier. So the answer to this question is the 2,800 is an outlier which doesn't impact the mean. I'm sorry, doesn't impact the median. So that's why you would use the median instead of the mean, is because it is not impacted by outliers. And the second question says, what is the difference between the mean and the median? Well, if I list all of these guys in order, I've got 2,800, 17,600, 19,900, 21,000, and 23,000. So the middle is right here, and the median is 19,900. Now the mean, on the other hand, is, if I were to add all of these values together and then divide by 5, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values, the mean actually comes out to 16,860. And it wants to know the difference, so if we take 19,900 and subtract the 16,860, it made a difference of $3,040. Pretty big difference. All right. right, number 3. It says a local charity wants to purchase a classic 1978 Chevy Monte Carlo for use in a prize fundraiser. They have the following 8 prices in the paper. What is the best measure of central tendency to get a reasonable estimate for the car, and explain? And again, same as in question 2, the answer to that question is going to be the median, because if we look at this, 96,000 and the 3,000 are both huge outliers. As you can see, the rest of these, again, fall within about $5,000 of 20,000. But these others are way off, and so it is actually going to be the median, because 3,000 and 96,000 are outliers. And to answer your question, yes, I do need you, when you're explaining, to identify what the outliers are. The next question is, what is the range? Remember, the range is taking the top value and subtracting the bottom value from it. So the range in this case was 96,000 minus 3,000. It comes out to 93,000. All right, number 4, it says James is looking to purchase a new set of 20-inch alloy wheels for his SUV. He found 23 ads in the paper. So kind of circle that. Remember that when you're creating your chart, you should have 23 prices when all is said and done. So they've already done some of the work for you. It's already in ascending order, and it's asking you to make a frequency table to display the data and then find the mean. So what I've done here is I've created the frequency chart, the frequency data chart. Remember that the first one is the price. Let me write it up here. Second column is the frequency. And the third column is the product, or it's taking the price and multiplying it times the frequency. The bottom here is our total. So I will have on the test itself, you will have a box that looks similar to this so that you can fill it out. Unfortunately, on the review, you're going to have to just kind of write it there on the paper. So you'll see that it totals to 23 different prices, which we knew there were 23 because it set it up above. It's 16,605 when I add everything together. So remember, to get the mean, I take that value and divide it by how many? So the mean in this case, which is the answer to B, is 721.96. And go ahead and press pause for just a second, and I'll give the students all a chance to write this down. All right, moving on to number 5. It says here that Ken has $21,000 worth of property damage insurance and a $500 deductible on his collision insurance. He caused an accident that damaged a $600 bench and also $1,200 worth of damage to another car, and then his car had $3,500 worth of damage. Question A says, how much will the insurance company pay under Ken's property damage insurance? Well, I need you to remember that property damage is other people's property. So in this case, we're looking at the $600 bench plus the $1,200 damage to the other car. So the total that's going to be paid under his property damage is $1,800, a total of the bench and the damage to the other car. The second question says, how much did the insurance pay under Ken's collision insurance? Well, the total pay, or the total charge or worth of damage was $3,500, but Ken has a $500 deductible, so the insurance company is paying $3,000. And see, how much did Ken have to pay? He had to pay his $500 deductible. Number 6, Brad has 100, 300 liability. So remember that The first one is per person, second one is per accident. So Brad is covered up to $100,000 per person for a total of $300,000 on the bodily injury. He loses control of his car and injures 22 children in a Little League game, and each person is awarded $15,000 as a result of the lawsuit. How much will the insurance company pay for the total in the lawsuit, and how much will Brad be responsible for? Well, we can see here $15,000. Nobody went over the per person, so we know that per person he's okay. Now we're just going to take the $15,000 and we're going to multiply it by the 22 students, and we get a total of $330,000. Figuring that $300,000 is the total that he is covered for, the insurance company is going to pay the $300,000, and whatever is left is what Brad pays. So you can see what is left here for Brad is the $30,000. So Brad will pay $30,000, insurance company will pay $300,000. Number 7, David has a personal injury protection policy or a PIP policy that covers each person in, on, around, or under his car for medical expenses up to $25,000. He's involved in a car accident and 3 people in his car are hurt. One person has $5,000 of medical expenses, 2 have $2,000, and David himself has $15,000. How much must the insurance company pay out for all 4 people? Well, remember here that he's covered up to $25,000 per person. Nobody went over the $25,000, so he's going to pay, the insurance company is going to pay David's $15,000, person one's $5,000, and 2 people had $2,000. And so when we add all of this together, we get $24,000 total, and all of it is paid by the insurance. By the insurance company, and David owes nothing. All right, number 8, Adam purchased a car for $24,995. According to his research, the make and model loses all of its marketable value in 12 years. If the car depreciates in a straight line form, what are the intercepts of the depreciation equation? So remember, intercepts are just asking for my x and y. Well, when the car is brand new, so the time it's 0 years old, the car is worth $24,995. And when the car is 12 years old, the car is then worth 0. And those are our intercepts. That's all you need to find on that question. Next one, suppose Carolyn knows that her car straight line depreciates at a rate of $3,500 per year. Over a 10-year period. What was the original price of her car? Well, if it went down $3,500 for 10 years, if I multiply the two together, it's going to give me the new car value, which was $35,000. All right, number 10, a new car sells for $44,000. It straight line depreciates in 16 years. What is the slope of the straight line depreciation equation? So first thing, I have to find my intercepts. I know that at 16 years, the car is worth 0. And at 0 years, the car is worth $44,000. Next, I need to put it into my slope form, or find a slope form, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So if I label these x1, y1, x2, y2, I have 0 minus 44,000 all over 16 minus 0. If I divide the 44,000 by the 16, and it's going to be a negative, I end up with a slope of negative 2,750.